My father loved my mother to the point of obsession, but she died because of me. Later, he adopted another daughter. The adopted daughter looked exactly like my mother. On our 16th birthday, he treated his adopted daughter like a beloved princess. All his guests mistook me for the maid's daughter. Right then my phone rang. Happy birthday, baby. It's been so long. Mommy missed you so much. Me, my mother, had returned when Chloe's guests ordered me to wash her car. My father, Arthur Davis, happened to return from an outing. His assistant trailing behind him, presented a priceless crystal castle to Chloe. Immediately, Chloe's classmates gasped in awe. Their envy was palpable. Then I heard Arthur's voice filled with indulgence and affection. A castle for my princess. Happy birthday. My one and only little princess is only princess. I rolled those words around in my mind, a bitter taste spreading through my chest. Today wasn't just Chloe's birthday. It was mine too. But just like every other year, I received nothing. 'Cause in Arthur's eyes, I was a sinner. I didn't deserve a birthday because I killed my mother. 10 years ago today, my mother was in a fatal car accident. While going out to buy the strawberry cake I was crying for, she left us forever. From that day on, Arthur hated me with every fiber of his being. At her funeral, he announced to everyone, Harper Davis is no longer my daughter. I crouched on the ground, blinking my red, swollen eyes at him, completely lost and confused. I was too young then to understand his cruelty. Only as I grew older did I realize how absolute that rejection was. Later, his company went public and his net worth skyrocketed. After becoming a wealthy CEO, he adopted Chloe. From then on, he only loved Chloe. Chloe lived in the master's suite of our mansion. I lived in the maid's quarters. Chloe was chauffeured to school. I took the public bus. Chloe's closet overflowed with new designer clothes. I wore whatever she discarded. Chloe lived like royalty. I lived like a live-in servant. It was true, though, I was a servant with no parents. But I wanted to be a princess, too. I remembered Arthur promising me that when I was little. Back then, my mother was still alive. Arthur's company was just starting out, and our family of 3 was crammed into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. To support him, my mother secretly transferred the holiday money my grandfather gave me into Arthur's account. Harper and I don't need much. Don't worry, she would always coax him. I loved to parrot her words. Daddy, don't worry. Harper will give you all her allowance. Before I could even finish, Arthur broke down. He pulled us close, pressing his face between ours. Soon scalding drops fell onto my chubby cheeks. They tickled. Looking back, those must have been his tears before I turned 10. He would constantly tell me, when Daddy becomes successful and makes lots of money, my Harper will be a princess. How does that sound? See, he promised, but he broke his promise. As I was lost in thought, snobbish, polite voice interrupted me. Excuse me, maid girl. Why are you washing the car? Do you think just because I'm Chloe's classmate you can ignore me? Chloe went to an elite private school. Her classmates were all rich kids, naturally acting high and mighty. But I wasn't a maid. I glared at her, about to snap back. But the next second, Arthur's cold voice cut through the air, directed at me. Why are you going? Why are you going? Hearing those words felt like taking a sledgehammer to the chest. How could I forget in Arthur's eyes? I was just a maid? Right away, Arthur had made it clear if I ever displeased him, he would cut off my tuition and living expenses. But I had promised my mother I would get into the best university. I couldn't break my promise to her. So as long as Arthur kept paying my tuition, I would endure anything. I bit my lip gently and turned around. Then a soft voice called out from behind me. Daddy, why don't we let Harper blow out the candles with me? It's her birthday today, too. She was actually really looking forward to it. Yesterday, she even snuck into my closet and tried on my evening gown. Frowned, I turned around to say I hadn't done any such thing. But a wave of disgusted murmurs erupted. Oh my God. A maid actually dared to wear her employer's dress. Chloe, did you get that dress dry cleaned? Unbelievable. So she's a thief, too. Hearing those whispers, I almost charged over and shoved Chloe's face into the cake. I wanted her dead. I admit it. Last night when she was showing off her new dress, I was envious. But that was it. Just envious. I never stole anything. I am not a thief. My eyes turned red with fury. But I didn't dare move an inch. 'Cause Arthur seemed to anticipate my reaction and stepped protectively in front of Chloe. He glared at me, his face dark with fury, disgust, hatred, coldness. How could she give birth to a daughter like you? Apologize or you're expelled tomorrow. Threatening me again? Huh? How could she marry a husband like you? I shot back. The moment the words left my mouth, Arthur's face turned completely black. I had never seen him look so terrifying. Slap. A resounding slap echoed through the living room. Arthur had ignored me for a decade. But this was the first time he ever struck me. Within seconds, my right cheek swelled up painfully. I was furious and heartbroken. But what could I do? I was only 16. I only had this father in name. A father who ignored me, hated me, threatened me, hit me. It was true. He didn't love me, not even a little bit. Meanwhile, Chloe, acting as if she had accidentally caused a scene, with her good intentions, rushed over to play peacemaker. Daddy, it's normal for girls to like pretty dresses. I didn't mean to get her in trouble. Then, what did she mean? Whatever. I had already been hit. Nothing else mattered now. So slap, slap, slap. I slapped Chloe 3 times in rapid succession. That's the price for framing me. After I hit her, Chloe crumbled like a fragile flower. Harper Davis, seeing Chloe looking so disheveled. Arthur's face filled with distress. He helped her up himself. He comforted her softly. Does it hurt? Daddy will call the doctor right now. Chloe covered her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's okay, Daddy. Don't blame Harper. Please don't hit her again. Once she said that, her classmates snapped out of their shock and began condemning her for being too kind. They all urged Arthur to throw me out. Throw me out. It was ironic and pathetic. I looked up, making eye contact with Arthur for the first time in years, and saw the absolute coldness in his eyes. His voice was devoid of any emotion. Harper, I am sending you to an orphanage starting today. You will never set foot in this house again. An orphanage. I was perfectly fine with that. I was already an orphan anyway. Plus, I could still go to school if I lived there. It was miles better than staying near Arthur. A few moments later, Arthur's assistant escorted me out. I turned and walked away, head held high. I felt no attachment whatsoever. However, I hadn't taken 2 steps when the phone in my pocket suddenly rang. I didn't want to answer it at first, but the vibration pulsed steadily, like someone knocking on the door to my heart. Finally, I pulled it out. I glanced at the caller ID. Instantly, I froze. I couldn't believe it. I squeezed my eyes shut and opened them again. Unknown number. But why did it feel so familiar? I stopped dead in my tracks. The assistant beside me rushed me. Hurry up. Mr. Davis doesn't want to see you. I ignored him. With trembling fingers, I answered the call, even though I knew it was impossible. My mother was dead. It had been 10 years. This number had never been active. Was it a cruel prank? But even so, my mother was dead. I answered, but didn't dare speak, just stood there. Mouth agape frozen. Then a voice came through the speaker. A painfully familiar voice. Baby, happy birthday. It's been so long. Mommy missed you so much. Her voice, amplified by the phone speaker, echoed throughout Arthur's living room. My mother's voice was exactly as I remembered it. I haven't changed at all. Like a warm cup of water, comforting and soft. Mom. I burst into tears. Is it really you, Mom? Are you calling me from heaven? I gripped the phone tightly, my fingers trembling. In that moment, it was the most precious thing in the world to me. But the next second, my hand was empty. Arthur had snatched the phone away. Give it back, I grabbed my teeth in fury. Did I not even have the right to talk to my dead mother? She called me, not him. I reached up to grab it, but Arthur was too tall. He shot me a cold look and ordered the assistant to pull me away. As our eyes met, I saw that his were red. Yet when he spoke, his voice was perfectly calm. "Who is this? Why are you impersonating my late wife?" "Me? Was he deaf? Do you not recognize her voice?" Every instinct told me that this was my mother. Sure enough, a moment later, the voice snapped through the phone. "I am Eleanor Vance, your wife." "Arthur Davis. Didn't you used to say you'd recognize me, even if I turned into the wind? What is this? You can't even recognize my voice now? Have you forgotten me? Fine. Give my daughter back. We're getting a divorce." The phone went silent. Arthur stood frozen, his hand still clutching the phone. His face, usually so composed and cold, was now a mask of shock and confusion. The living room was dead quiet. Chloe's classmates stopped their whispering. Even the assistant paused, his hand still gripping my arm. Arthur's fingers trembled. He slowly lowered the phone, staring at it as if it were a bomb about to explode. "Eleanor?" His voice cracked, barely above a whisper. "Impossible. She's dead. I buried her myself." I watched him, my heart pounding against my ribs. A strange mixture of emotions swirled inside me. Relief that my mother was alive. Anger that Arthur had lied to me for 10 years. Confusion about what had really happened that day. Arthur suddenly looked up, his eyes wild. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "Did you hear that?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "Did you hear your mother's voice?" I nodded, unable to speak. Arthur's face crumbled. He dropped the phone on the marble floor. It shattered into pieces. "No," he muttered, backing away. "No, this isn't possible. She's dead. I saw her body." The car exploded. There was a fire. The body was burned beyond recognition. But the DNA test confirmed it was her. I identified her myself. Someone is playing a cruel trick. But I knew. I knew with every fiber of my being that it was her. My mother was alive. Arthur turned to the assistant, his voice suddenly harsh. "Take her away. Now. To the orphanage. Don't let her come back." The assistant tightened his grip on my arm. "Come on," he said, dragging me toward the door. I didn't resist. I let him pull me away from the only home I'd ever known. Away from the father who hated me. Away from the sister who had stolen my life. But as I stepped out the front door, something caught my eye. A black sedan was parked across the street. The window rolled down, and a woman's face appeared. She looked exactly like me. The same dark hair. The same gray eyes. The same small nose and full lips. She was older, her face lined with years of hardship, but it was her. It was my mother. "Harper," she called out. Her voice was soft, filled with tears. "Come here, baby. Mommy's here." I froze. The assistant stopped too, staring at the woman. Arthur appeared in the doorway, his face pale as a sheet. "Eleanor," he breathed. She stepped out of the car. She wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked nothing like the elegant socialite she'd been 10 years ago. But she was beautiful. More beautiful than I remembered. Arthur stumbled down the steps. "Eleanor," he said again, his voice breaking. "Is it really you?" She looked at him, her eyes cold. "Yes, Arthur. It's me. The woman you left for dead. The woman whose funeral you attended without shedding a single tear." Arthur's face twisted in pain. "No," he said. "I loved you. I still love you. I thought you were dead. I mourned you for 10 years. Eleanor laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You mourned me? Is that why you adopted another daughter? Is that why you told Harper she killed me? Is that why you made her live like a servant in her own home?" Arthur flinched. "I was angry," he said. "I was in pain. I didn't know what I was doing." Eleanor's eyes flashed with anger. "You didn't know what you were doing? You made our daughter believe she was a murderer. You made her believe she didn't deserve to be loved. You abused her for 10 years, Arthur. 10 years. Arthur looked at me, his eyes filled with guilt. "Harper," he said. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just so angry." I pulled away from him. Don't, I said, my voice shaking. Don't touch me. You told me I killed Mom. You told me I was a sinner. You made me feel worthless every single day. And for what? For a cake I wanted when I was 6 years old? Arthur fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he said, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Harper. I didn't know. I didn't know she was alive. If I had known. Eleanor stepped forward. If you had known, would you have treated Harper differently? Or would you still have blamed her for something that wasn't her fault? Arthur didn't answer. He couldn't. Because we both knew the answer. He would still have hated me. He would still have chosen Chloe over me. Eleanor turned to me. Harper, she said softly. Come with me. I'm not going back to that house. I'm not letting you stay with him. I looked at Arthur. He was still on his knees, crying. I felt nothing. No pity. No forgiveness. No love. Just emptiness. I turned to my mother. Okay, I said. I'll go with you. I walked toward her, away from Arthur. Away from the mansion. Away from the life I'd never truly had. Eleanor wrapped her arms around me. I buried my face in her shoulder and cried. I cried for the 10 years I'd lost. I cried for the mother I'd never had. I cried for the father who had never loved me. We got into the black sedan. As we drove away, I looked back one last time. Arthur was still on his knees, watching us go. Chloe stood in the doorway, her face pale. For the first time in my life, I felt free. The car ride was quiet. Eleanor held my hand the whole time. Her hand was warm and soft, just like I remembered. Where are we going? I asked. Eleanor smiled. Somewhere safe, she said. I've only been free for 3 months. I escaped from Richard 2 months ago. I spent the last month gathering evidence and finding you. I have a small apartment now, a job lined up, and now I have you. I squeezed her hand. What happened? I asked. The car accident. Why did everyone think you were dead? Eleanor's expression darkened. It wasn't an accident, Harper. It was a setup. Arthur's business partner, Richard Blackwood, wanted to destroy him. He knew how much Arthur loved me. He knew that if I disappeared, Arthur would fall apart. I looked at her in shock. Richard Blackwood? But he was Arthur's best friend. Eleanor nodded. That's what everyone thought. But he was jealous. He wanted Arthur's company. He wanted his success. And he wanted me. I shuddered. He kidnapped you? Not exactly, Eleanor said. He paid someone to cause the accident. The car exploded. A fire consumed everything. Richard took me from the wreckage before the police arrived. He kept me in a private facility for years, in a medically induced coma. He also planted a body in the wreckage, a homeless woman who had died recently. Richard paid off the medical examiner to falsify the DNA test. He made sure everyone believed I was dead. When I finally woke up 3 months ago, he told me Arthur had abandoned me. He told me Arthur had moved on and was happy I was gone. She paused, her voice trembling. I believed him at first. I was weak. I was confused. But then I saw a news report about Arthur. About his company going public. About him adopting a daughter who looked like me. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. I knew then. I knew he was lying. I started planning my escape. I stared at her, horrified. So you stayed with him? No, Eleanor said firmly. I never stayed with him willingly. He kept me drugged and confused. I barely knew what was real. But 3 months ago, when I woke up properly, I started planning my escape immediately. I reached out and hugged her. It's okay, I said. You're here now. That's all that matters. Eleanor hugged me back. It was hard, she said. Richard had powerful connections. I had to be careful. I had to wait for the right moment. She pulled back and looked at me. And today was the right moment. Today, Richard's business collapsed. His assets were frozen. He lost everything, including his control over me. I looked at her in amazement. You planned this? I had help, Eleanor said. People who owed Richard favors. People who wanted to see him fall. She smiled. And now, I'm free. We're both free. The car pulled up to a small apartment building. It wasn't fancy, but it looked welcoming. Home, Eleanor said. I followed her inside. The apartment was small but cozy. Furniture that had seen better days but was well loved. A few photos on the walls. Photos of me. I walked over to them, my heart racing. There I was, at 15. At 16. Recent photos. Photos of me walking to school. Photos of me at the bus stop. How? I asked, my voice trembling. How did you get these? Eleanor touched my shoulder. I hired a private investigator last month, she said. I needed to find you. I needed to know you were okay. He took these photos for me. I turned to her, tears in my eyes. You knew? You knew how he treated me? Eleanor's face filled with pain. I knew, she said softly. And it killed me every single day. But I had to wait. I had to gather evidence against Richard first. I had to make sure he couldn't hurt you anymore. She took my hands in hers. I'm sorry, Harper. I'm so sorry I couldn't come sooner. I should have protected you. I shook my head. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. Eleanor hugged me again. We have a lot of time to make up for, she said. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. We spent the next few weeks getting to know each other again. Eleanor told me stories about her childhood, about how she and Arthur had met, about how they had fallen in love, about the day I was born. I told her about my life, about living in the maid's quarters, about taking the bus to school, about wearing Chloe's old clothes, about the birthday parties I was never invited to, about the way Arthur looked at me with hatred. Eleanor cried when I told her about the slap. The first time Arthur had ever hit me. I'm going to kill him, she said, her voice cold. I'm going to make him pay for everything he did to you. I shook my head. He's not worth it, I said. I just want to move on. Eleanor looked at me, her eyes filled with pride. You're so strong, Harper. Stronger than I ever was. I smiled. I had to be. I didn't have a choice. Eleanor squeezed my hand. You have a choice now, she said. And I'm going to make sure you never have to be strong again. You're going to be a princess, Harper. Just like Arthur promised. A real princess with a real family who loves you. I laughed. I don't need to be a princess, I said. I just need a mom. Eleanor hugged me. You have that, she said. You'll always have that. A few days later, Eleanor got a call. Her lawyer. Arthur had filed for divorce. He wanted to contest Eleanor's claim that she was alive. He wanted to keep his assets. He wanted to keep Chloe. Eleanor laughed when she told me. He thinks he can win, she said. He thinks he can just pretend the last 10 years didn't happen. But he's wrong. I'm going to take everything from him, Harper. His company. His money. His reputation. And most importantly, you. I looked at her. What about Chloe? Eleanor's expression softened. Chloe is innocent, she said. She's just a child caught in the middle. But she's not your sister. And she's not my daughter. I looked at her in confusion. What do you mean? Eleanor sighed. Richard found Chloe, she said. He searched for years to find a girl who looked like me. He found her in an orphanage when she was just a baby. He arranged for Arthur to adopt her. He wanted Chloe to be close to Arthur. To be a constant reminder of what Arthur had lost. I stared at her, shocked. Chloe is an orphan? Eleanor nodded. Richard's wife died years ago. They never had children. But he was obsessed with destroying Arthur. He knew that if Arthur had a daughter who looked like me, it would torture him every single day. He found Chloe specifically because of her resemblance to me. I felt sick. So Chloe was just a pawn? Just another way for Richard to hurt Arthur? Eleanor nodded. Poor girl, she said. She doesn't know the truth. She thinks Arthur is her father. She thinks she's loved for who she is. But she's just a replacement. A substitute for me. I thought about Chloe. About the way she had looked at Arthur with such adoration. About the way she had tried to be kind to me, even though it was fake. About the way she had crumbled when I slapped her. She was just a victim too. What's going to happen to her? I asked. Eleanor sighed. I don't know, she said. Richard is in jail now. He has no money, no power. Chloe has nowhere to go. I looked at Eleanor. Could she stay with us? Eleanor's eyes widened. What? She could stay with us, I said. She's innocent too. She didn't ask for any of this. Eleanor looked at me for a long time. You're too kind, Harper, she said. After everything she did to you. After everything Arthur did to you. You still want to help her? I shrugged. She's just a kid, I said. Like me. Eleanor smiled. You're amazing, she said. I'll think about it. But first, we have to deal with Arthur. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Arthur fought Eleanor on everything. He claimed she was an imposter. He claimed she was after his money. He claimed she had abandoned us. But Eleanor had proof. Medical records from the hospital where Richard had kept her. Witnesses who had seen her there. Evidence of Richard's crimes. And most importantly, DNA evidence proving she was who she said she was. And then came the real blow. Eleanor submitted the evidence Chloe had stolen. Documents proving Arthur and Richard had been working together for years. Tax evasion on a massive scale. Money laundering through offshore accounts. Fraudulent business practices. Bribery of government officials. The evidence was overwhelming. The FBI got involved. The SEC launched an investigation. Arthur's company was frozen. His assets were seized. The court case was all over the news. The media went crazy. The story of the woman who had returned from the dead. The CEO who had abandoned his daughter. The girl who had lived like a servant for 10 years. And now, the criminal empire behind it all. I stayed out of the spotlight. Eleanor protected me from the reporters. She didn't want me to be dragged through the mud again. But the truth came out anyway. People found out about how Arthur had treated me. About how he had blamed me for my mother's death. About how he had made me live in the maid's quarters. About how he had adopted another daughter and treated her like a princess. And now, about how he had built his empire on crime. The public was outraged. Arthur's company's stock crashed to zero. His board of directors fired him immediately. His friends and business partners distanced themselves. Many of them were also implicated in the crimes. The government seized everything. His mansions, his cars, his bank accounts, his private jets, his art collection, all of it. He was being destroyed by the very system he had manipulated for years. Arthur was arrested, charged with multiple felonies, facing decades in prison. Richard was already in custody. He had been arrested the same day Eleanor escaped. He was facing even more charges. Kidnapping, false imprisonment, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. The list went on and on. Meanwhile, Eleanor was rebuilding her life. She got a job at a local school. She reconnected with old friends. She started writing a book about her experience. And she spent every moment she could with me. We went to the movies. We went shopping. We cooked dinner together. We talked for hours. It was everything I had ever wanted. Everything I had never had. One evening, Eleanor sat me down. Harper, she said. I need to tell you something. I looked at her worried. What is it? Eleanor took a deep breath. I've been in touch with Chloe, she said. I stared at her. Chloe? Eleanor nodded. She reached out to me. She wanted to know the truth. I looked at her confused. What did you tell her? Eleanor sighed. I told her everything. About Richard. About me. About Arthur. About how she was used as a pawn. I felt a lump in my throat. How did she take it? Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. She was devastated, she said. She felt betrayed. She felt like her whole life was a lie. She didn't know what to do. I looked down at my hands. What's going to happen to her? Eleanor took my hand. She wants to meet you, she said. She wants to apologize. She also wants to help us. I looked up at her confused. Help us? Eleanor nodded. She came to me with evidence. Documents she found in Arthur's study. Proof that Arthur and Richard were working together on illegal deals. Tax evasion. Money laundering. Fraud. She stole them for us. She risked everything to help us bring them down. I stared at Eleanor in shock. Chloe did that? Eleanor nodded. She said she wanted to make things right. She said she couldn't live with herself knowing what Arthur and Richard had done. I looked down at my hands, processing this. Chloe had risked everything to help us. To help me. Do I have to meet her? I asked. Eleanor shook her head. No, she said. It's your choice. But I think you should hear her out. She's just a kid, Harper. She didn't know any better. And she's trying to do the right thing now. I thought about it. About Chloe. About the way she had looked at me with those big, innocent eyes. About the way she had tried to be kind, even though it was fake. About the way she had crumbled when I slapped her. About the evidence she had stolen to help us. She was just a victim too. Just like me. And she was trying to make things right. Okay, I said. I'll meet her. Eleanor smiled. I'll set it up, she said. The next day, Chloe came to our house. She looked different. No designer clothes. No expensive jewelry. Just a simple dress and sneakers. Her eyes were red from crying. She looked nervous. She was holding a thick folder. I opened the door. Hi, she said softly. Hi, I said. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. Chloe walked in, looking around. It's nice, she said. Small, but nice. I nodded. It's home. Chloe turned to me. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry for everything. She held out the folder. This is for you, she said. I found it in Arthur's safe. It's everything. Proof of what he and Richard did. Tax evasion. Money laundering. Fraud. All of it. I took the folder, my hands shaking. Why? I asked. Why did you do this? You could have kept living your life. You could have stayed with Arthur. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. Because it was wrong, she said. What they did to you. What they did to Eleanor. What they did to me. Using me as a pawn. Lying to me my whole life. She looked down at her hands. I was jealous of you, Harper. I admit it. You were Arthur's real daughter. You had his blood. You had his name. I was just the adopted girl. The replacement. I wanted him to love me. I wanted him to choose me. So I did whatever I could to make you look bad. I know it was wrong. I know I was cruel. But I was just a kid. I was just scared. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. But then Eleanor told me the truth. And I realized something. Arthur never loved me either. He just loved what I represented. A replacement for Eleanor. I wasn't a daughter to him. I was just a tool. Chloe wiped her eyes. I don't want to be a tool anymore. I want to be a real person. With a real family. And I want to make things right. I looked at her, really looked at her. She was just like me. A girl who wanted to be loved. A girl who had been used by adults for their own purposes. A girl who had never had a real family. And she was trying to change. I forgive you, I said. Chloe's head snapped up. What? I forgive you, I said again. You were just a kid. You didn't know any better. Chloe started crying. Thank you, she said. Thank you so much. I hugged her. It's okay, I said. We're both victims here. Chloe pulled back. What's going to happen to me? She asked. Where am I going to go? I looked at Eleanor, who was standing in the doorway. She can stay with us, I said. Eleanor smiled. If that's what you want, she said. I nodded. It is. Chloe stared at me. You'd let me stay with you? After everything I did? I shrugged. We're sisters, I said. Sort of. And sisters stick together. Chloe burst into tears again. Thank you, she said. Thank you so much. The three of us spent the next few months building a new life. Eleanor got a better job. I started at a new school. Chloe transferred to the same school. We lived in the small house, but it felt like a palace. Because we were together. Because we were loved. Arthur's life fell apart. He was in prison. Awaiting trial on multiple felony charges. Facing decades behind bars. His lawyers had abandoned him. His friends had turned their backs. He was alone. One day, I got a letter. It was from Arthur. I almost threw it away. But Eleanor stopped me. Read it, she said. You don't have to forgive him. But you should hear what he has to say. I took the letter. My hands were shaking. Dear Harper, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you. For blaming you for your mother's death. For treating you like a servant. For hitting you. For choosing Chloe over you. For everything. I know I can't fix what I did. I know I can't make it right. But I want you to know something. I did love you, Harper. Even when I hated you. I loved you. I just didn't know how to show it. I was so angry. I was so broken. And I took it out on you. I'm going to prison for a long time. Probably the rest of my life. And I deserve it. I deserve everything that's happening to me. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And that I love you. Your father. Arthur. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it up and put it in my pocket. Eleanor looked at me. What did he say? I told her. She nodded. How do you feel? She asked. I thought about it. I thought about the man who had once loved me. The man who had promised to make me a princess. The man who had broken every promise he ever made. I don't know, I said. I don't feel anything. Eleanor hugged me. That's okay, she said. You don't have to feel anything. You don't have to forgive him. You just have to live your life. And be happy. I hugged her back. I am happy, I said. For the first time in my life. I'm happy. We sat there together. The 3 of us. Me, Eleanor, and Chloe. We were a family. A real family. Not perfect, but real. And that was enough. That night, I lay in bed, thinking about everything. About the little girl who had been blamed for her mother's death. About the teenager who had lived like a servant. About the young woman who had found her way home. I thought about Arthur. About the man who had loved and lost. About the man who had let grief destroy him. About the man who was now in prison. I felt sorry for him, but I didn't forgive him. Some things don't need forgiveness. Some things just need to be let go. And I had let go. I had moved on. I was happy. I was loved. I was free. Years passed. Eleanor's book became a bestseller. She used the money to buy a bigger house. She started a foundation for abused children. She became an advocate for victims of domestic violence. I went to college. I studied law. I wanted to help people like me. People who had been hurt by the people who were supposed to love them. Chloe went to college too. She studied psychology. She wanted to help kids like her. Kids who had been used and manipulated. We graduated together. We stood on stage, diplomas in hand. Eleanor was in the audience, crying. We were happy. We were loved. We were free. Arthur died in prison 5 years later. Heart attack. He was alone. No family. No friends. Just a cell and a lot of regrets. I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't need to. I had already said goodbye in my own way. I had already let go. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of breakfast. Eleanor was in the kitchen making pancakes. Chloe was setting the table. Morning, Eleanor said. Happy birthday. I smiled. It was my birthday again. Another year had passed. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't alone. This time, I wasn't unloved. This time, I was a princess. Not because of money or castles, but because I had a mother who loved me, a sister who cared about me, a family who cherished me. And that was better than any crystal castle, better than any designer dress, better than any false promise. Because it was real. It was true. It was mine. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to Harper. Happy birthday to the girl who had survived. The girl who had overcome. The girl who had found her way home. And lived happily ever after. The end.